are going to a Turkish area in North London where they've got a shop called Antepliler. So they've got these milk cakes that are really popular in Turkey and we're going there to try them out. Alright, we've just got them home and I think it's time for a quick taste test. It's not as sweet as I expected. Time for the pistachio one. It's quite good, a little bit drier, but it's still pretty good. Forget everything I just said, because these homemade ones are way better. Alright, these milk cakes are surprisingly easy to make, so let's start with the plain one first. You'll need a kitchen scale, a few bowls, and a hand mixer or some good old-fashioned elbow grease. To make the cake, weigh out 120 grams of all-purpose flour into a small bowl. To that you'll add a quarter teaspoon of salt or about 2 grams, as well as 1 teaspoon of baking powder or 6 grams. Give that a quick mix, then set those dry ingredients aside. In a small jug, measure 100 grams of milk, then separately measure out 30 grams of caster sugar and then another 70 grams into a separate bowl. Next you'll take 4 large eggs, then separate out the whites from the yolks into 2 bowls. That can be done by cracking the egg in half, then passing the yolk back and forth between the 2 halves of the shell until all you're left with is the yolk. Of course, if you do drop some egg into your bowl, make sure to take it out. We want the cake to be very airy with a ton of bounciness, because later we're going to soak it in some milk, and we don't want it to be too dense. To do this, we're going to make a meringue which will incorporate tons of air into our cake. We can make that by whipping the egg whites into a stiff peak, and to help stabilise that meringue we'll add a quarter teaspoon of cream of tartar to the egg whites. This needs to be whisked very thoroughly for quite some time, so I'm using a hand mixer with a whisk attachment that will make quick work of the meringue. Start by whisking the egg whites to incorporate the cream of tartar, then when they start to foam we can begin incorporating the 70 grams of sugar. Add it about 1 tablespoon at a time while whisking until you've incorporated the whole thing, then you just keep on whisking. You'll get to the first stage of the meringue, which I like to describe as floppy, where it's just kind of loose and collapses. Once you get to this stage, keep a close eye on the meringue and you want to mix it until you get to the firm peak stage. You'll know you're there when you can remove the whisk and you get an upright column of meringue where only the tip is floppy. At this point the meringue is done and we can sort out the egg yolks. In another mixing bowl, add your 4 egg yolks, then to them you'll add 1 teaspoon of vanilla paste or vanilla essence. You'll then add in the remaining 30 grams of sugar, and you can start whisking this together the same as the egg whites. Now I didn't clean the whisks because the egg whites won't harm the yolks, but if you do this the other way around, the fat in the yolks will cause the meringue to collapse. Whisk these together for about 3 minutes until it turns into a pale and airy egg yolk mixture. Here's what my one looked like. At this point you can add in the milk we measured earlier and fold that into the yolks, but you can also do that after this next step. Place a sieve over the bowl, then add in the dry mixture and sift it to make sure that you don't get clumps of flour in the egg. With that all in there, use the spatula to fold the flour into the egg yolks, and you want to fold from the bottom of the bowl rather than stirring so you don't beat the air out of the eggs. Keep folding until no dry pockets of flour remain, then stop mixing. I kept going until my mixture was smooth, which you shouldn't do because that causes gluten to form, and I'll show you why that's bad later. Now take a few heaped spoons of the meringue and add them to the bowl, then fold those egg whites into the rest of the mixture. That should loosen it up significantly, and once it looks like this you can combine it with the rest of the egg whites. Again use a folding motion to combine the two together, trying to keep it as fluffy and airy as possible. You should be left with a light cake batter that looks like this, and that should give us a perfectly fluffy cake. Break out a rectangular Pyrex baking dish that is a couple of inches deep, then line it with a piece of baking paper. I trimmed off the excess paper so it doesn't burn, then I added in the cake mixture. Give it a bit of encouragement to get it into all of the corners and fairly level, then it's ready to bake. Set your oven to 160 degrees Celsius with the fan on, then place the dish in there for 25 minutes. When the time is up, take the cake out of the oven and check it by inserting a toothpick or a skewer. The toothpick should come out clean, maybe with a few crumbs on it, but definitely no batter. Let this rest for 5 minutes on the countertop, then we need to rest it on a wire rack. Remove the cake with its baking paper, then place it face down onto your cooling rack. Peel back the baking paper to reveal the cake, then just allow this to hang out and rest for about an hour. Once the cake had cooled completely, I realised that it was actually kind of rubbery. When I'd press on it, it would bounce back real quick, kinda like a hard foam pillow. That was because I had overmixed the batter which caused gluten to form, and that just made the cake springy. I had no choice but to remake the cake, and this time it was light and fluffy like we wanted, so make sure to be careful about overmixing. Now to turn this into a milk cake, we're going to make a soaking liquid and pour it over the cake. This soaking liquid is a mix of a few different dairy products, and it's where the dish gets its real name from. Leches, which means 3 milks. If you're familiar with Latin American desserts, then you've definitely come across this dish, but how it ended up in Turkey is a mystery to me. What is different though is the soak. Latin American Leches is usually soaked in a condensed and evaporated milk mixture, whereas this Turkish one is usually soaked in milk and cream. That makes it a lot easier to play with flavours, which is why you can easily find different flavoured milk cakes across Turkey, like saffron and pistachio flavour. Once your cake has fully cooled, place your cake back into the baking dish, and then before you soak it, poke it full of holes so it can easily absorb the liquid. I used a metal skewer to fill it with loads of holes, and went back and forth poking it until the entire thing was covered. I then made the soak for this by combining 260 grams of whole milk, 200 grams of heavy cream, and 30 grams of sugar. That got mixed together until the sugar was dissolved, then I poured it evenly over the whole cake. Now it needs at least 2 hours of rest so the milk can distribute evenly, so I wrapped my one up and placed it in the fridge. While that was resting, I made a caramel topping which we'll use to decorate the cake, and that began by adding 100 grams of sugar to a small sauce pot over medium heat. I allowed the sugar to heat up, and once it started melting, I stirred the rest of the sugar in. Once that had fully liquidized and just started to foam up, I added in 20 grams of butter and whisked that into the sugar until melted. After that, I poured in 170 grams of heavy cream, whisking it into the caramel until it came together into a sauce. As soon as yours looks like this, pour it out into a bowl and set it aside to cool. Another topping we need is whipped cream, and you can easily make it by whisking together 350 grams of heavy cream with 30 grams of sugar until you have some stiff whipped peaks like this. Once your caramel has cooled and your cake has absorbed all the milk, start laying on the whipped cream and then spread it out from edge to edge. I used a palette knife to get the cream to a fairly even thickness. When it's quite flat, you can add the caramel sauce, and I poured that into the centre of the dish, then I spread that out evenly. After that, we're left with the decorative white lines, which is just some whipped cream piped into straight lines on top of the caramel. This was harder to do than I thought, and those lines ended up looking like silly string. After that, you're supposed to run a toothpick back and forth through the lines to give it a herringbone appearance, but mine ended up looking even worse. I went and had a good cry in the corner of the room, and when I came back, Selma had somehow salvaged the situation, giving us this great looking Trileçe. I personally wouldn't really bother with the lines, but look how fantastic this slice is. All the layers are well defined, and that caramel is a perfect topping for the cake. Of course, we had to make the pistachio one as well, and that's quite easy to do with a few minor tweaks to the recipe. We wanted this to have loads of pistachio flavour, but without using artificial flavourings, so we added in ground pistachio to the cake as well as pistachio paste to the soak. For the dry ingredients, add half of your flour with the baking powder and salt to a bowl, then replace the other half with 60 grams of ground pistachios. These are store-bought finely ground pistachios, but you can also make these yourself in a blender or food processor. Mix those dry ingredients together and then pick out any larger pieces of pistachio you find. When it comes to the egg yolks, we added a small squeeze of pistachio coloured food colouring and whisked that to create a beautiful green emulsion. When we added the dry ingredients, we made sure to sift the mixture and break up any flour clumps, then we added back any larger chunks of pistachio which were caught out by the sifting. We added the milk, then folded in the egg whites as usual and baked this exactly the same way as the first one. That came out of the oven looking fantastic with a light green pistachio colour, and on the bottom of the cake you can see where the chunks of pistachio ended up. The soak for this cake was similar to the first one, except we also added in 75 grams of pure pistachio paste for extra flavour. That was hard to whisk into the milk, so we blended that together to give us an emulsified pistachio soak worthy of this cake. When it came time to soak, we found this big crack had formed on the cake, but it doesn't really matter as it's all going to get covered up anyways. I did unfortunately forget to poke it full of holes, but I gave it plenty of time to soak in the fridge. After a few hours, I added in a batch of whipped cream like the last one, and this time I put some decorative swirls into the top of the cream. That got decorated with a sprinkle of chopped pistachios and some edible rose petals, then it was ready to serve. It's going to be hard deciding which one is better, but they're both real winners.
Let's see. That is like eating a moist pistachio. Man, that is so good. That pistachio one is packed full of flavour on every single bite, and the caramel one is absolutely amazing. Now check out this video over here if you're looking for more dessert ideas.